What are we talking
So,
about?
first of all, I think we should talk about Donald Trump, the man who has just been convicted of 34 felonies. Yeah,
That's a lot,
I
man.
know. But it's basically
Yeah.
all coming off that one thing, all from that hush money payment.
How have they managed to get
I don't know,
34
it's
out of
probably
that?
like different things, like maybe like corporation fraud, tax fraud, electoral fraud, like all different types of things. I don't know. Stuff like that, all from one thing.
So what do you think of the
I
conviction?
think I don't like Trump, but it just seems like they're finding something to go after. Do you know what I mean? What do you think?
I think so too. I think he's a favor for the election because Biden is so incompetent, and especially his pro-Israeli stance. He's extremely unpopular. I mean, the
Trump
guy,
has the
you can
same
tell he's got
stance, though.
dementia.
That's the thing. But it is, I think Donald Trump, he is, Trump is definitely the favorite, I think, for the election. The thing is,
Trump has the same stance, but he's not like, because he's not been in a leadership role. People haven't. He's in the like. He doesn't get like
yeah,
put accountable because he's not the president. If it was the other way around, trust me, Trump would be also
yeah. But
funding
also,
this
I think
genocide. But
it's more so
you know,
because Trump's voters don't really care. Like most people who vote for the Democratic Party, a lot of them probably care about the issue and would want to side with Palestine. However, Republican voters are probably more likely to side with the conservatives. So for him, it doesn't make a difference if he's pro-Israel, probably.
but I think just Biden being pro-Israel, I think it affects him a lot. So
Yeah,
he's not
definitely.
popular at all. So a lot of people, what like the PBD guy, Patrick Bet Davidson, and I listened to their podcast. They were saying like they really like wanna basically make him unpopular as possible. Like he said that the narrative that they will be running with through this election campaign, convicted felon, and it was quite funny. They had a very interesting. So this used like after it when people tweet all the political opponents, they all use the word convicted felon, and when Trump gives a speech, right? And towards the end, the first woman that asked a question, she said, "Oh, why should people vote for a convicted felon?" So they're gonna be running. The word convicted felon is gonna be like
Yeah,
you
you
won't
know
hear
what the
the
thing is
end
though?
of it.
They've just cemented his place in the history books, like even more than it already was. There's been very few presidents in America, but there's only been one president who then also got convicted as a criminal. And if he wins the election, then the next president of the United States could be a convicted felon. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, that was I wanted to really ask you this question. I, I'll forget America. Everyone looking from outside,
Yeah,
what are they
it's
thinking?
crazy. This is what's so interesting about it. Like, if I was America, if I was like part of the system there, even if because the charge does seem quite trivial, like the hush money payment, I wouldn't do it, bro. I wouldn't convict him because he's not only is he an ex-president, he is also running for president again. So like, is it worth it? If he had, if he had made the money through his own, paid the money through his own account, I don't think he would have been convicted. But it's actually because he paid it through his corporation that he got convicted.
Hmm. But to be devil's advocate, people would say like whether he's going to be the president or no, no matter, like it doesn't matter. Law is the law. It was illegal.
It
What would you
is
say? What
true.
would you say
It's
to
a
that?
good point, but like it's a bit embarrassing for you.
If they're gonna play the crooked game and making like showing that America is the strongest country and we are like the superpower,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not a good
It's
look.
kind of, to be fair, it does go like very well with the um freedom and the democracy stuff because like not only did we convict a former president, but also convicted president could become the next president. So even criminals can become presidents now, bro. It's crazy.
It can backfire. It can really, if Trump wins, right? Yeah, that narrative would like that would be crazy. That you can be a convicted felon, and can become president. Like people will look at. I don't know. People are already looking at America as very divided and not taking it as seriously. You see BRICS doing their own thing. Everyone's like, we don't want to be under your rule anymore. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I
Things
think
are not
he's
looking
gonna.
good.
He's saying he's gonna appeal it, but like all the juries unanimously said he was guilty. So I don't know how he's gonna be successful in that. But if I was him, I wouldn't even appeal it, bro. You go down in the history books, you still get to be president, and you get remembered forever. But to be fair, it's not a good thing
The
to do.
first, yeah,
It's not a good
he's
thing
made
to be
history,
remembered
whether
for.
positive or not.
Yeah,
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. Another question that, not question, concern the right wing were, you know, maybe rightfully so concerned about that. If Trump is still gonna win, right? And he's still the favorite in the polls, and based on like the predictions from like, the not Republican, the Democrats, right? Like, like say they know like Trump is gonna win. PBD and those guys were saying that there could be a threat to Trump's life, like, and also Tucker Carlson, he said like Trump should increase his security, he should double it. So because they think that they're trying to do anything possible, like if they can stoop this low, how much lower can this go? Like, if he's gonna still win regardless of him being a convicted felon,
yeah. No, that's an
what if they
that's
go
an interesting
there? Like,
point, but I, I think one thing to consider is like how much is he actually against the system versus how much is he just against these like uh some particular people in powerful positions, like maybe a couple like powerful judges or something like that, because I don't think he's like a JFK type of figure who's really going against the system or is going to make like some crazy type of change. Like I don't know, I just don't see him as that type of guy. What is he doing that is so radically opposed to the American way of life or system for them to take that measure?
yeah, I mean, he's a bit like Imran Khan, where he's got this narrative of being anti-establishment, but then when it actually comes to doing things against like that, like taking proper real action where you making
Yeah,
systematic changes, right? I mean, it can also still cause disruption if your narrative, like let's say you're speaking against the establishment and things of that nature. But if there is no systematic action towards it, then you're right. Like, is he
yeah.
really
Like
in
he's not
danger?
really a
You
revolutionary,
know?
is he? I don't. Can can
Yeah.
American presidents serve more than yeah, they can't even serve more than 2 terms. So even if he wins this election, after 4 years he'll be gone. Unless their concern is that he's gonna like turn America into an authoritarian state and that's why they need to get rid of him before he tries to take over as a dictator. But I don't is that
Mm,
possible? Who knows?
I don't know what the. I think the Democrats are also very afraid of being also becoming convicted felon after Trump becomes in charge. I think they're more afraid of getting because
Yeah.
because they tormented Trump, right? While they've been in power. And by the way, Trump did the same thing. People forget that Trump was no angel. When he was in power, the amount of abuse he gave to the opposing side, he made a new trend of like populism and toxicity where the more brash you are, the more insulting you are, you know. So I don't know, man. It's you ask a very good question. What do you
Um
think?
I don't know either. I don't think like what was his last term really that different compared to prior presidents? Like, of course, people will say he was a bad person, he was racist, and all of that stuff. But was it so radically or like revolutionary that it would cause people to go to such extreme measures? I don't really think. I don't really think it was.
I mean, they, when Was there a vote
Yeah, he
of
was
no confidence
impeached.
against him?
Yeah.
Wa- And then people went to that
The
what's that building
capital.
called?
What
When
was
they,
it? It is
yeah, yeah,
called. No, what was it called? Capitol building. I
something
feel like
capital,
that's
right?
from a film or something.
But anyways, when they basically was like
Yeah.
almost an attack on democracy. So I don't know. They might see him as a just a threat to
Yeah.
democracy.
Maybe. I think that could be the case, but then I don't see why these conservatives would support him in that case.
And also, their approach doesn't seem
Yeah.
democratic either. In my
Yeah.
book,
Exactly. It'll be really,
I don't
it'll
know.
be interesting to see what happens. But I think he's definitely still the favorite for the election. Um, but one other interesting thing is, I wonder why he paid that hush money because there's been so many controversies about him. I don't see why that one thing would have derailed his election campaign so much.
That's a
Like
very
he,
good
bro, the
question.
thing came out about those voice recordings around the same time came out about him saying they grabbed them by the yeah.
Yeah,
So
the people.
why
Yeah,
why is this the thing
yeah,
where he was like, oh, I've got to draw the line there? Because like, bro, he said such vulgar, such racist things, and that's I don't know. It's
yeah. He got away with all of it, and now he's becoming a convicted felon. He wasn't even in power. Everyone
yeah,
counted him out back then. Everyone did. No one expected
yeah.
Trump to win.
It's interesting. Do you? He it's interesting because him and Imran Khan's like political rise is almost at the same time. Do you think the world is going more towards like populist leaders like that?
I think so. I think also with the rise of social media, I think it doesn't matter how much work you do. I think what matters is how much
Yeah,
you
it's
speak
all
about what
about
you're gonna do.
marketing.
Yeah. It's all about marketing. It's
Yeah,
all about narratives. Yeah, I think Trump's just got the narrative. Like he wanted to end Obamacare. I don't think if that was a good decision. No one's speaking
yeah,
about that. You should be outraged. If you're anyone free health, if someone's against free healthcare, you seriously need to
yeah,
question those people. Even within UK, like privatizing NHS, like how many poor people are
yeah.
gonna suffer
It
from that?
is crazy. I think
Yeah,
I think those things about privatizing NHS. I don't know how much weight really was behind that. I don't know if it was actually happening or it was just like theories behind people. But that would be such a horrible thing to do. I don't know how any party who does that would then get into power ever again.
this is what I didn't understand with Trump. Like in UK, right? Like we would be like
Yeah.
that would be an absurd thing, where Trump was actively trying to
Yeah,
dismantle
I
it.
think it's because
And I think that's where a lot of the resentment came from
yeah,
the
I think it's because
Democrats
people saw a lot of
as well.
problems with the Obamacare thing, like uh, the way it was set up and everything, and also with America, they don't really like in the UK we have like quite a lot of socialist policies. In America, they don't. They want to be like this all big capitalist country. Everyone's out for themselves, basically. So it makes more sense. Where in the UK, we've been used to the NHS for like so many decades now that anyone who tries to get rid of that would be like a villain, real life villain.
Yeah. What do you think is future of America? Do you think it's gonna remain United States, united, or do you think it's the collapse of an
It could
empire?
be. It could be. It could be.
Because
I think people have said this about America a lot of times throughout its history that oh it's going to collapse now. This is it. But it I don't know. I feel like more so than ever before, this seems like America is in a bit of a weird state because now you've got these BRICS nations separating from them. You've got countries that are not using the dollar anymore. You've got what's going on with Israel and Palestine, where now Arab countries are going against America, European countries are going against their stance, and there's just so much uncertainty in their economy as well that it could possibly be, but again, it is unlikely. But I feel like it's more likely than it has ever been before.
yeah, And social media really exposed a lot of regimes, not just America, many regimes. Like the kind of like horrible things that that are taking place around the world, like Sudan. We would not have heard about these things if it wasn't social media, and that's why I think U.S. has banned
Yeah, I
TikTok.
don't think I don't
You
think they
know,
have yet, but
See,
they're working on it.
their work is it not
No, I don't think so.
completed yet?
They gave TikTok a thing saying like you either have to sell it or change your rules or you will get banned. I don't think it's banned yet. Yeah,
Hmm. Well, that just goes to show it's all about
yeah,
narratives. You know, if America loses the narrative, I think they really know the cost of that. Like,
yeah,
it really
exactly.
matters. It really matters.
And
Um,
that's really
Sorry,
important
go on.
for the second thing that we're going to talk about in a minute. But carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, like it's like for example, PBD was saying this, and I really agree with him. They were the most popular, they were the most listened to podcasts after the Trump thing that happened. People don't want to listen to mainstream media anymore. They're losing that control. Mainstream media was pretty much it's controlled by the government. Let's be honest, right? And these independent media platforms, they, it's real. That is real freedom of speech, and they don't like it. You know, they don't like it, and I wonder what they're gonna do with bless you, and I wonder what they're gonna do with these other social media. Like, I mean, you look at Instagram, you speak against the genocide, and boom,
Yeah,
you're getting a warning. So, it is crazy. Like, for people to say that, oh, like Destiny, I listened to Destiny and Tate's argument. Destiny was saying, oh, America is they're more focused on like getting the goods across the expo and thingy. That's what they're the best at. That's where they're most of their energy spent. Yeah, I agree with that, but he was also at the same thing saying, oh, the narrative thing, controlling the media, that's really not their thing. Like, the reason why they're superpower is all because of, like, what you call it, it's all because of their trade and how competent they are or have been. And I agreed with Tate in that thingy that, that no, they're putting
yeah.
billions into the narrative. But it's both of them were true at the same time. Like, it wasn't one or the other. So I don't know why they were just rejecting
To
each other completely into like dogmatic way.
that,
But anyways, that was
yeah,
quite an
that sounds
interesting
like such an
conversation.
ignorant statement to say that they're not really bothered about the narrative. What do you think? Why do you think there's so much focus on like Hollywood and the media being controlled in America? If if the narrative is important to any country in the world, it is America. Every act they do, they try and play themselves off like the good guys, like the war in Vietnam, the war in Iraq. Every single thing, oh, we're the good guys. That's how they're able to get away with these things by framing themselves as the good guys and controlling the narrative. So to say that is actually such an incredibly ignorant statement to me.
Yeah, it's an absurd statement. Because what America
Mm.
sells you is culture. Like, we are the good guys. We have freedom of speech. You come here, American dream. Da 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 da. That's their currency. Where the China is they got different. Like, they're selling you the economic benefits, right? We're gonna get you out of crisis. We're gonna give you a bunch of loans, but later on we're gonna control you
Mm.
because you won't be able to pay them. They're gonna gain leverage that way. But whereas US and all these countries, the Western countries, they're really selling the culture of this freedom and entertainment, and you can be a dreamer. Again, if they lose that narrative, they're like, you know what, like, everyone starts to realize, truly
Yeah,
starts to realize, like, these guys have funded so many wars, like, what you call it, they're responsible for, like, the amount of weaponry they have sold, causing geopolitical conflicts. um I don't know, but
yeah.
I think they're gonna lose a
I
lot of power.
think they've caused the most destruction out of any state or empire ever in history because they're so technologically advanced and also because they're so trigger happy and they love just bombing places and sending their weapons everywhere. Like for example, one bomb
Yeah.
in Hiroshima, one bomb in Nagasaki caused so much damage, and then you talk about the Vietnam Wars and all of these different wars. Like, it's so ridiculous. I can't believe what an ignorant statement that is for someone who is known as a political streamer to make. Like, for example, a country like China, they care about the narrative as well. Most countries do, but they care about it more so internally. They care about the narrative that is shown to their citizens. This narrative of like power and all of this stuff and economic opportunity. But in America, the narrative that they need is worldwide. That's why they're so always
Yeah.
talking about like the United Nations and NATO and democracy. We're spreading democracy to all of the world. Do you not think that that is about narrative? Do you think these people really care about like, oh, we're going to go to this foreign country and make it democratic so they have these democratic values and they can vote and they can be like us? No, they don't care at all. The democracy, giving them democracy is just a cover for their actual goals, which in different countries is different things. In some countries, is probably like getting the oil. In other countries, is different things. But for them to use that cover of democracy, how can you say they don't care about the narrative? That's so,
Yeah, and also dollar, to use dollar, like dollar
yeah.
is just a paper. That's the it has value because country says it has value. But if countries are like, no, I don't value all your whatever currency you're running, whatever trade you're running, I don't value the culture because it's fake. There is no real freedom of speech. If you're anti-establishment like JF Kennedy, you get assassinated. When people catch on to these things, there is, the empires fall that way. And I think you said it perfectly there. I think that sums up the conversation perfectly. To say that, you know that that they don't care about narrative
Yeah.
is extremely silly,
They've
extremely
positioned
silly.
themselves and keep calling themselves the leaders of the free world and all of this stuff. That's the only reason every country adopts the dollar and keep using it. All that it's, I don't know, it's very silly. And then speaking of narrative, recently this story on Instagram really blew up. The all eyes on Rafah AI image. So what did you think about that? What were your thoughts on that?
I think it's really good because more than 40 million people posted it. A lot of people had a problem with it being an AI image, but I'm like, there were people like I'm seeing people on my Instagram that until census the 6th of 7th of October or 6th of
It
October.
was the
Sorry,
7th of October.
the 7th of October, right? Since 7th of October, they have not said a single word. I've not seen a single post, but I've seen that story, and I'm happy. I'm happy. I saw um, some activists that have been, speaking out for Palestine. They were like, oh, like, should I read it out
Yeah.
to you?
One
Right.
second, I think.
So this activist, I think they post a lot of, great content. I don't know them personally, but anyways, some of you spoke out a bit too late, in my opinion. But I'm trying to be not judgmental. Whenever it gets the word out further, I will support it. We wanted a ceasefire in October, whilst every organization, magazine, collective brand were putting out your neutral, politically correct statements. While you guys talk about 8 months too late ceasefire that Israel, the UK, and the US just ignores anyway. We want the live downfall of Netanyahu and his whole badman crew, white supremacy, the illegal occupation of land, colonialism, and Western imperialism. And that's on Rafah, Congo, Sudan, Haiti, Hawaii, Yemen, Syria, and every oppressed group that is on the brink of survival because of Western greed and selfishness. Um, Actually, I mean, now reading it again, I agree with it. Like it, but no, actually, yeah, I think reading, I don't see a problem with it. Um, but the fact that she did say that, you know, a lot of you are speaking out a bit too late, but I'm not going to be judgmental. Um, a lot of people are judgmental. She isn't.
To be
That's
fair,
very
she
good from
said that,
her.
but then she went
I think
on
I'm
to be
misread it.
judgmental.
I don't know because I'm trying to give her grace, right? I guess very
That's,
frustrating, since the
yeah,
seventh.
the thing is,
Sorry, gone.
you can understand it. Like, people are understandably very angry that other people have not been speaking out. But once they do start speaking out, we cannot then make it a competition of, oh, I did it 8 months ago. When were you? Like, we can do that. For example, our first ever podcast, which we recorded in October, was with Bilal, where we were calling for a ceasefire and also for the complete um, rights of the Palestinian people given back to them, and we shed light on a lot of these issues that people started talking about later on. However, we're not going to say we did that. Where were you? Because that doesn't really help anyone. We, even if you only started posting this now, well done, welcome.
Exact. That's how I feel about it. I'm like, bro, this is great. Like, I'm not gonna be here like, oh, where were you when it was time to post a story about Palestine? Near October time. I'm like, any support at this point, man. Like,
Yeah,
post more. Like a lot of these people, they were probably afraid. They didn't want to lose their jobs. Again, that shouldn't have been the case. People should have been more brave and all of these things. But now that if they're coming on your side, you don't put them off. We need everyone on the
yeah.
pro-Palestinian side. That are calling for ceasefire, that are calling for the rights of the innocent Palestinian, um, and that are against this genocide. We need every single number. But if you, like you said, if you to them like, oh, like I'm more Palestinian, who are you? Like, don't speak now. Who cares now? And those are performative activists. Those people are, they're
Yeah,
just,
I think
I don't
people are
know,
just.
man.
I think
They
people
just
are angry and they're letting their emotions do the talking instead of realizing what is actually best for the people of Palestine, and what is best for them is as many people getting behind their cause or not. It's not a popularity game or oh, I was here first, I did it first, I'm better than you, I'm more moral than you, I'm more ethical. But no one cares as long as the Palestinian people finally get their peace and their justice. That's when we will be happy. And the more people that support them, the more likely that is. And I think it's important to mention that it seems like now what's going to happen is people are going to scapegoat Netanyahu and his party and act as though they're the only ones responsible for this kind of mentality. But it's not. This has been going on for over 75 years, and some serious thinking needs to be done. Some people really need to look into how we can come to a resolution that is genuinely peaceful and beneficial for the people of Palestine, and also the Israeli people now as well, because although I strongly believe the way that that state was started and has continued to function over the last 75 years has been reprehensible. It's disgusting. You cannot now also like uh, harm and displace people who would have been born in that land who didn't really have anything to do with it, because there will have been a lot of people born in Israel who do not support what has been happening, and to just kick them out, I don't think that's good either. So we need to come to a solution. More than that's not good. That's just not acceptable. We need to come to a solution where all people can live side by side and everyone has their own rights. All Palestinians have the right of return to their homes and their land. And yeah, I think that's what needs to be done. I am more so, and I more so believe in a one-state solution than a two-state solution, to be honest, because I feel like that would be where everyone gets their land back. The Palestinians can live in the area, the Israelis live in the area, but you would have to combat a lot of radicalization on not just the Palestinian side, as the media would want you to believe, but on the Israeli side as well. Because you see a lot of these videos and stuff coming out, and bro, these people are so radicalized as well. They hate all Palestinians just for being Palestinians.
Hmm. So when you say one state, you believe in one state solution. Is that like a Palestinian
It's
state?
just a state in that land. I could not care less what the state is called, but as long as the Palestinian people can live somewhere where they have freedom, where they have autonomy, where they are not continually oppressed, and yeah, they can just live as normal citizens and normal civilians. It can be called Palestine. You can call it Canaan if you want. The issue with it is now is that Israel has caused so much suffering for so many people since its inception that I don't know. It can you can still have a two-state solution, but you need to restructure it from the ground up because, like I said, it was founded on genocide. It was founded on ethnic cleansing. 700,000 people were forcefully expelled in the Nakba, and many others were murdered. So I don't think it's so difficult to tell people to accept that this state that did this to your people will just keep going now. Oops, sorry we did that. But I think, yeah, either the two-state
Mm.
solution, which is the more likely of the two because Israel won't want to give up their land or anything, or one-state solution. I think one-state solution is more just, it's more fair, but the reason people won't accept the one-state solution is because they want Israel to be a Jewish ethno state. They want to retain the majority of the population as Jewish no matter what. And if you allow all the Palestinians back in, let's say the whole place was called Israel, but everyone had like equal rights, freedom, no oppression to the Palestinians, the Palestinian population would be very similar to the Jewish population. And if that is the case, you can't have majority Jewish rule, and therefore they will just never allow that to happen. Yeah, it is crazy, but going back to the story, I think it was really important, um, because like you said, it showed people that this is now an acceptable narrative. Because a lot of people were scared to post and everything. You said on my Instagram, exact same thing. People had not said a single thing, not posted anything. However, when it came to this, so many people posted it that had not said anything before, and it's just because it shows people like, oh, this is okay now. Like I can do this without getting reprimanded, which is a positive. I don't see how it could be a negative thing. Obviously, there's better things to do. You can donate and all that stuff, but that doesn't mean that this isn't important as well.
Yeah, before the 7th of October. No, actually, I think I don't know when my mentality changed. I don't know when it changed. I don't really know the exact date. But when BLM happened, and you know how everyone was
Mm.
posting on stories, the black screen, things of that nature. I didn't see like I thought it was like very performative, and I thought like no benefit came out of it. But I think now that understanding media better, I think narrative and awareness, I think that is such a good thing to do. Like posting, a Palestinian, I don't know, flag or the melon or that story on your page or whatever, right? I think that is, that is something that should be supported, and I think that's a great thing one can do. I
Yeah,
think the narratives, like initially I was like, oh, what is the story gonna do, right? Not with this one, but especially with BLM. And then I changed my mind. Then I started supporting, sharing petition, things of that nature, um, because I was just so hopeless from the Afghanistan situation. Because I was like, and the Pakistan, like despite people speaking out about such multiple conflicts, posting on their story, nothing really came out of it. But I think now I see it. Now I truly see it, especially with how much it changed things with the BLM movement, and now like you know, just posting things on the stories and this constant, push to show the Palestinian side of the story. I think it has been so beneficial. So beneficial. It's actually really good that people have been posting on their stories and things of that
Yeah,
nature. I applaud it, man,
yeah,
personally.
exactly.
I think it's very
Exactly. And
important.
two things can be true at once. It can be performative for a lot of people, but it can still be important. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not a competition of my activism is better than your activism. It helps the cause at the end of the day. So that's all that matters. I think there is a slight difference in the BLM Black Square thing because of the fact that in the mainstream, the tide had kind of already turned towards supporting BLM by the time everyone started posting those black squares and stuff. Whereas with this, like most of the mainstream is still support, all of the mainstream, I'd say, still supports Israel. You now have people like Piers Morgan turning on them and everything. So the tide is beginning to turn, kind of. And I think eventually it will fully turn because if there is an independent investigation into this, like the true horrors will only then come out. You have all these people saying, "Oh, they're over-reporting the death count and all of that stuff." The reality probably is that they're actually underreporting it because so many people are just labeled as missing instead of dead because they don't know where they are. There's this one thing that came out and the Israel supporters were like, "Oh, see, Hamas was the Gaza Health Ministry was giving you the wrong death count," and they had just completely misrepresented the situation. There is reported deaths and there's identified deaths, and the ministry has been publishing both of these numbers since the start. And the BBC or whoever it was shifted from using the reported deaths to the identified death or whatever it's called. Forgot the exact word now. But basically, for the identified one, they need to fully identify and have like um, a lot of information on them. Whereas with the reported one, they're like very likely to have passed away, but they don't have all the necessary things to actually write them down as like an identified one. So again, it's just that misreporting, using this to say, "Oh, look, they're lying. We told you from the start," is so disingenuous.
It's horrible. And the thing is, like, people don't have to, die in order for them to die. you know, like people have lost homes, they don't have schools anymore, they don't have normal life anymore, they have lost limbs, they have lost parents. The spiritual death, the emotional death, it's not just like, oh, they are not alive anymore, like, right, like, just like, or let's say it's 10K less, or less, it's definitely, we're looking at more than 40K in my opinion, if you're really gonna put it into words and really be like, how much trauma, how many people are gonna have mental health issue for the rest of their life. We're talking about, they might as well have killed half a
Yeah,
million. They might as well have killed more
yeah,
than that. More than that. Actually, I think that's me being like, not exaggerating. Okay, bro, these people are gonna have generational traumas, generational. They're gonna have
yeah,
generational hatred. Do you know in how many ways they will never live? Their life will never be ever be the same. The kind of images that we see, images, the kind of real world images, like people missing arms, right in front of, like, they're looking at it. That's their sibling, that's their mom. Think if that was your mother, that was your brother, that was your son. Will you be ever till the day you die able to
yeah.
forget that?
Exactly. It's so
Do you know, like, it's these fucking
it's so crazy that we've got to a point where we're discounting so much suffering. The only thing that will like be acceptable to a lot of these people is if people die. All the families that are traumatized for life, that's fine. But you know what? A few thousand less people might have died than they're reporting. You kind of out yourself as a completely unempathetic person when you say stuff like that. Like, how can you be so bogged down about whether it's 40,000 or 35,000 people who have died? Like, so many people are suffering. What are you doing to be focusing on that? I think for us as humans, well, for me personally, there is not there is not too big of a difference between, let's say, 100,000 people dying and 1 million people dying. Both are reprehensible. Both are disgusting. I don't know why people play this game of, oh, 40,000 have died here, but there was 1 million that died in that one. So, like, let's not talk about this 40,000. It's only a drop in the ocean. Like, bro, human beings are not
Yeah.
numbers. Every single life is valuable, whether it's 10,000 or 100,000. Both of these are extremely sad. They're extremely horrific. For you to discount one because it doesn't like go up to your threshold. I saw this one guy on LBC talking, and he was like, "Oh, maybe if they kill 1 million or 2 million, then it would be a genocide." And then 10 minutes later, he says 10 minutes later, he says what happened on October 7th was a genocide where 1,200 people were killed. Like, be consistent. Is it the intent that makes it a genocide, or is it how many people died? Because, like, you are really outing yourself as not only very stupid, but also very disingenuous. Like, at least some people can be smart with their disingenuity, or whatever that word is. These people can't even be smart because it's so difficult to defend this position that they can't be consistent with their morals. They have to keep chopping and changing to defend what's going on because no reasonable person would defend it.
Yeah. I saw this one pro-Zionist story. It said like it was talking about like the uh, Holocaust.
Holocaust.
Holocaust. I don't know how to pronounce it. Holocaust. And I was like, that's terrible. That was a genocide. That's one of the worst things that has happened in humanity. But that was done by Nazi Germany. What has the Palestinian got to do with
Yeah,
this? Like, do you get what I'm saying? It's like, why are we comparing the
exactly.
suffering? You know, it's suffering is
Exactly.
suffering. 1,000 people, 10,000, even one person. You know, why is a person getting murdered just because some powerful people want to exploit? I don't know, trying to get lands and just I don't know power. You know, it is heartbreaking. Like, if you're gonna be, if you're against war and genocide when it comes to the Holocaust, then it should be for every single
Exactly.
conflict, any single war, any corner of the
Exactly.
world, right? Just if it's the same thing happened to Americans like the 9/11,
Yeah.
that was tragic. That was that was a genocidal act. That should never ever happen. Never ever. I will never stand for that.
Yeah.
Even if the whole, let's hypothetically say the whole Muslim world agrees with like, let's say, 9/11, which they don't. 99.9% against such acts. It's a radical minority, radical terrorists that agree with that stuff. Anyways, but let's say, right, I'm standing
Yeah.
against it. I don't care. I'm anti-war
Exactly.
everywhere, anywhere, everywhere, no matter the race, color, skin. Like, why are we just
Yeah.
pick and choosing? I don't get it, man. Why are we pick and choosing? Let's stay
Exactly,
consistent.
exactly, bro. These people are so radicalized. Speaking of, we mentioned that Destiny guy earlier. In his debate with Norman Finkelstein, he said, "Do you really think Israel would go through all the chains of commands and bomb like innocent people? Do you really think they would do that? There's like lawyers involved, all of this." And he was laughing at Norman Finkelstein and like pretending he was so superior to him intellectually and he knew so much more. And then about a week or two later, Israel bombs that world kitchen thing, the aid organization, not once, not twice, but 3 times. They went from one car to another car because so Israel bombed one of their cars, then people came to rescue them in another car. They bombed that car, then a third car came to rescue them, and then they bombed the third car as well. So the thing that Destiny pretended was so ludicrous, so far out of like imagination that it could never happen. It happened 3 times, and moreover, they had given their coordinates to Israel beforehand. So the Israel knew what was going on, and they just did it not once, not twice, but 3 times. This is what I mean. Like, this is not something where you can just scapegoat Netanyahu as they're doing now. there is a much broader issue here that needs to be addressed.
100%. I think you couldn't have said it better. Yeah, it's did you see that
No,
Biden
what?
speech about now
No, what
calling
did
for
he say?
ceasefire? Oh, I mean, encouraging Israel for ceasefire and like
Uh,
dismantling Hamas in a certain way that the people can get along. And I think the narrative shift you talked about. I think
yeah,
is getting to that. They're very like people are very close. Just people who believes in humanity. By the way, it's not just pro-Palestinian people. People who believe in
yeah,
humanity, right? Whether they're in Europe, whether they're in America, people are starting to catch on, right? And they know they can't sustain this bullshit. Now, Netanyahu hasn't, they haven't commented on it because it's the Sabbath, but yeah, let's see where this goes. But Biden, man, for how long? Like, did you say like,
yeah.
you know,
The
you're funding this thing, and now you're like, you're not even like making it like concrete. Like, we can't have this anymore. We suggest Netanyahu. We are suggesting. Do you think they're gonna really listen to
yeah.
suggestion?
I, this is the
What are we doing
this
out
is the
here?
case where you can do that thing where you can say, oh, now you're calling for a ceasefire, and that is because they are complicit. People who are staying silent, who weren't posting on their stories, just normal people, the average person, they are not complicit. However, when you have someone like Biden sending them arms and stuff, and now they're calling for a ceasefire, then you can make the statements like, what, 8 months after everything we've just seen, after all the information you had, now you're calling for a ceasefire because he was in a position of power and he was supporting the other side. He was complicit. I'd even say the same for people like Piers Morgan, who are basically doing propaganda for Israel this whole time. He has changed his mind now, but for the past 8 months, he was like, while 40,000 people were killed, he was wondering what is a proportionate response while babies were being killed. It's ridiculous. With people like that, you can say that thing of, oh, now that the tide has turned, now that 40 million people have posted it on their stories, and you know what would be good for your career in the future, for your prospects in the future. Oh, now you've come to this somehow, some way, you've
Yeah.
got this light bulb moment. Like these people are,
Yeah, you can say that and not be performative or not be like that is like
yeah.
accountability. Oh, now you're saying this. Now you need to investigate. Like, of course, we should
Yeah,
still
exactly.
push for
Well
ceasefire,
done for doing it
100%.
now.
But these
Well
people
done
should.
for doing it now. But because
Yeah,
they've been complicit, they need to be held accountable. Joe Biden cannot just be continued to be like, if he wins the election, he cannot be like, oh yeah, Joe Biden, president of the USA. No, Joe Biden, who is complicit in the genocide of the Palestinians. That's how he needs to be remembered forever now.
100%. Or in jail. I think that's not a convict. That's a
Yeah.
murderer. That's not a
Did you
convicted
see?
felon.
Did you see
It's
that Nikki
worse.
Haley woman?
I,
She was running for the president. She signed the bombs.
so nervous, bro. The bomb, yeah, like finish them. Oh, bro. That
That
that woman is just like you can sense the
that
evil in her
is
in the way they
evil.
even
I was gonna say
speak.
that. That is literally evil. There's no other way to describe that. To be assigning a bomb that has such a high likelihood of killing not just civilians, such a high likelihood of killing a kid, killing babies. Again, it's so crazy that we've got to a point where we almost disregard the like innocent civilian men in Gaza. We always talk about the women and children. How crazy is that? All the civilian men,
Yeah, because every man
yeah,
is a Hamas there.
all of them that died, they're basically regarded. We have
Eh,
to always talk about the children to kind of hit home the point. But it is just insane to me that you would do that knowing the likelihood that it's going to kill an innocent person.
Yeah, like isn't that crazy how we have to constantly mention women and young kids, even though there are a lot of most
Yeah,
men are
exactly.
innocent there. You know, most men are having to pick up arms because their kids are getting shot. It just
Exactly.
oh man, it's
That
making me
signing of the
emotional. But
bombs
like,
thing is so barbaric. It's actually barbaric. I don't have. It's evil. It's barbaric. It's disgusting. there's no way you can frame that in a positive light.
I can't believe like the world has let this
Yeah,
happen, man. Like, I don't get it. How the world leaders have. There needs to be systematic change from literally top
yeah,
to bottom
exactly.
and bottom to
And
up, man. Like,
before
but the future makes me
be,
hopeful.
before someone's
Sorry, go on.
before someone says it, yes, the hostages should be released. Yes, that is horrible as well. And the Palestinian hostages should also be released. We cannot forget that many people are being held, many Palestinians are being held in Israeli prisons without charge for years. They're not allowed to see their families, and this includes kids. And many people are put in prison, tortured, beat, sexually assaulted, and sometimes the crime is as little as waving a Palestinian flag or a little kid throwing a rock at a tank, a little stone, and this is the result. Like, release the Israeli hostages, but you need to release the Palestinian hostages as well. That's how we get to peace. We need to actually work towards a resolution honestly, where we want peace for both sides. We cannot do this one-sided peace for one side while the other people continue to suffer, and then we pretend it's all peace in the West because the side that we're allied with is happy and they're at peace, but the other people are continually being oppressed, living in what many people, including Israeli human rights organizations, call concentration camps, and they call Israel an apartheid state. That is not peace. That is not justice. It needs to be for both
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah, if the Palestinians can't move to dream on and have opportunities to become a doctor, engineer, be something in life, and like how we live here in the UK, if it's not that, it's
Yeah,
not peace. I'm sorry, it just
exactly.
isn't.
This narrative.
It's
Gone.
tragic. And
Sorry.
another thing I want to say, like I sent you that video by that guy, that
Yeah,
who was, what's his name?
the guy who's in support of like radicalization and all that stuff.
Yes, radicalization and things like that, like resistance. I don't know what he meant by resistance, but like what he was saying, like they need to get the like we need to work towards peace by any means necessary, including violence. But I'm like, now if we start killing innocent Israelis, they're gonna weaponize
Yeah,
that against
it's
us.
yeah,
Like we need to move towards diplomacy. We can't have more innocent people
yeah,
dying. Honestly, like we need to be the bigger people. We can't be like, we can't be like our, let's call them enemy. Like the best revenge is like not to be like enemy, they say, right? To I know it's difficult, like even with me, right? They shot my sister, the Taliban shot my sister. But I wish the best for the children of Taliban, and I pray to Allah that these people who are terrorists, right, that their mentality changes, that they have love and peace in their heart, that they educate their daughters, that they educate their son. I wish the best for them. I pray for them, even though they almost took my sister's life. I will never, I can't forgive an action of like killing my sister, but I can forgive the pain they have caused me. It's been difficult. It was a difficult journey for fucking years. I wanted to do the most horrible things, unimaginable things to them. Like I would literally picture me punishing them, torturing them in many ways. But for me, I'm gonna speak from personal experience. I wanna you know, work towards de-radicalizing. I don't wanna be like I don't wanna claim the word terrorist. I don't wanna claim the word radical and all these things that this so-called pro-Palestinian guy was saying. I think he was just angry, right? But no, no, I'm a Muslim and I'm a peaceful person. And I'm not
yeah,
radical. I'm capable of education, capable of doing great things in this world, and so are all my other
yeah,
Muslim brothers.
yeah. No, resistance according to the UN for the Palestinian people, armed resistance is actually it's justified, it's valid, but not against uh innocent civilians. Like military operations, if you want to do them, fair enough. America's done loads of military operations, so has Israel, so has every other country. But killing innocent civilians is not resistance. It's not a military operation. Leave those people out of it. Um, if you want to do some sort of strategic thing, I don't know what it could be. Yeah, go for it. If that's gonna stop like tens of thousands of Palestinian people being murdered, it might be for the greater good. That argument can be made. However, killing innocent people is never justified, and we know loads of innocent people did get killed on October 7th, so that cannot be justified ever. Um, but another thing
Yeah.
that is also just completely ridiculous is when people say, "Oh, but there was a ceasefire on October 6th. There was a ceasefire before October 7th." I think it was the deadliest year for Palestinian children uh, uh, in history, in recent history, in 2023. To say that is just ridiculous. I think over 200 people or something had died uh, prior to October, had been killed, sorry, prior to October in Palestine. So again, this narrative that, oh, there was a ceasefire before October 7th is so stupid. Both sides have both sides that year committed atrocities, and to frame it as though, oh, Israel had to respond because this thing has just happened. Bro, Israel's been doing that for so long. I'm not making this argument, by the way, but if you're going to make this argument, if you're going to use this justification that we can respond to October 7th by killing tens of thousands of civilians, why can the other side not make the same justification and say we can do October 7th because you've been killing tens of thousands of our people prior to that? You expelled 700,000 of our people from this land. It's the same thing. Be consistent with your logic. I'm saying neither of them are justified. No innocent civilians being killed is justified. Whereas you're saying, oh, Israeli civilians being killed is not justified. But when it's Palestinians, they're human shields. You know what? They're
Yeah.
what do they call it? Collateral damage.
Collateral.
It,
And if you tell them like, oh, if you say in this context, oh, like, let's say there was a criminal in your neighborhood in America, in your bougie Beverly Hills, and they dropped a bomb, they kill him, but yeah, your family dies in it
yeah.
too. Would that be okay? They're like, no, they all shut up. So why are we doing the same? Like, why is it this double standard?
Thanks for listening, everyone, and let's hope for better times and an end to the war very soon.
Inshallah. Take care.
Okay.